Okay, so this is Joe, and I'm back again. We're going to take each one of my arcades one by one, and I'll tell you just about everything I can about them, and we'll do one video for each machine. So, as I said before, this is my 25-inch, 4-channel, 4-slot Neo Geo. It's also known as the Big Red, and it's also known as the MVS 25-4C, and I could be just pulling that right out of nowhere, but basically meaning it's the 25-inch, it's the 4-slot, and it's the C version. The C version has the extra tall header here with the speakers on top, and it's very iconic. This is kind of the more desirable one. It's kind of outstanding feature of the cabinet. Each one of these mini marquee titles are supposed to light up when that game is selected. Mine isn't working right now. They do make an L panel, which is like a glowing electroluminescent panel replacement kit for these, as they do fade to black over time. So another feature of this cabinet, as well as having the memory card and headphone slots, it also has these cut-in corners, and they're actually made by 3Com. That's 3KOAM. That also make the Z-backs, which I'll get to later. So when I purchased this, it has these 4 games: Puzzle de Pawn, Metal Slug 4, Baseball Stars, and Art of Fighting. Now, we've pulled out Baseball Stars and replaced it with what's on the screen now. This is The Last Blade, which is one of my wife's favorite games. This is one of her first video games that she was allowed to play. When back in high school, I took her to the local arcade. She'd never been to one before, so she pretty much mastered this game, as well as Magical Drop 3, which were both on the same cabinet at the mall. So, what else can I tell you about this? This had a Wells Gardner 7000 series, very common monitor. But when I got it, it was dim, and it was having problems focusing. And I was just on John's Arcade on YouTube. I want to give a shout out to John's Arcade. I love him, or his videos and his channel. But I was talking with someone there that was having a focusing issue. And what I found with this was that the focus pin, which sits in between a keyway, was folded over, and so when you actually put the neck board on, the pin wasn't actually going into its socket. It was bent over just enough that it was getting stuck in the keyway. And what would happen, it would start up and it would look okay for a minute or two, and then it would start to go fuzzy, and the focus on the flyback wasn't really doing anything at all. I mean, you could kind of get it into focus for a few seconds, and then it just kind of seemed to be avoiding me. You know, like I'd turn it up and it'd look okay, and then it would fade away, and I'd turn it back down, it'd look okay, and it would fade away. So, yeah, it actually turned out to be nothing more than a neck pin. But the chassis itself was having some problems with folding in the upper left. And I was actually able to get a chassis off of one of my Z-backs I bought for dirt cheap, and it's a 7000 series, not exactly the same 7000, but close enough. Almost all of the 7000 series, especially if they're the same tube size, can be swapped out. Anytime you're swapping chassis, the main thing to look for is that you have the same neck pins and the same resistance on your windings. Other than that, they're fairly interchangeable, and I stress fairly. There's plenty of videos and information out there for doing tube swaps and chassis swaps and such. So, But yeah, we opened it up. We found a bag, U.S. Mint bag for quarters, and it had about, and I kid you not, about 4 dozen copies of the keys to this cabinet inside. I mean, literally like a huge, heavy handful of keys. And on these, you have, of course, you have your keys for your coin door, which usually the operator will change out. But what the keys actually went to were these 2 locks here, which get you in. This opens like a garage door, folds up, and that gets you inside to replace the mini marquees and such. So, anyway, that's about all I can say for this. I think I paid a fair price for it. I'm not going to get into the prices too much on these. I felt the price was fair, maybe just a little bit high, but you tend to do that when it's something you really want, and this was the one we really wanted. So, the side art, let's take a look at the side. It's a little dirty, it's a little dusty. I haven't gone through and done a real thorough tear down and cleaning of these. I've done a general cleaning to just kind of get them looking presentable. This side looks really good, and you're not going to be able to see the other side at all, but there is a scratch right about where the Neo Geo logo is. It's actually more like a divot about the size of a nickel. An unfortunate accident while we were shipping it. It rubbed up against the jukebox and left a mark there. So, I haven't been doing this long enough. I know now shipping blankets, cardboard, and we won't have that issue again. So, that's my 4-slot Neo Geo. And, one last thing to note on it. It does tend to get louder the longer it's been on, and I've been told that that's the caps in the audio section of the Neo Geo board, and it's something I'm going to look into later. Right now I have it set so it doesn't get too loud after it's been on for a few minutes, but when it first starts up it's almost inaudible. But all the slots on it work. I have 5 games total for it. The 4 that are there, plus the Last Blade, which is in it now, and Baseball Stars is right there. It's in that box. Okay, so that's it for the Neo Geo, and I'll be back again in a minute for the next review.